Welcome to Earth Common Journal, The Launch Pod, where we invite authors, dignitaries, and guests to discuss our annual theme in an on-the-ground podcast series. In Volume 8, we discuss the shift of climate change to climate adaptation. We're your hosts, Jacqueline Ohm
and Cole Kosh.
And this is The Launch Pod. In this episode, we speak to Aaron Mazo, a master's in philosophy student at the University of Alberta. We were just talking about the importance of being uncomfortable.
Yes, I think.
And the Stoics.
Yeah, when I think about adaptation, I think more about conceptual engineering. And I think before you can change what you do, you have to change the way you think. And the concepts we use are important, but we use them because they're familiar to us. For example, the distinction we make between artifice and nature. It's not particularly factual. We live in the world. We can't fully distinguish ourselves from it, but we act like we can. When we say, well, we need to get out into nature more. Well, what really is the difference between outside nature and inside? Are we not the product of the outside? Have we not simply modified the outside to create the inside? If perhaps we start thinking differently, or we try to distance ourselves from that dichotomy, maybe we can change the way we think about sustainability. But of course, as you said, very uncomfortable because, well, we live in a particular way, I think, because we like it. I don't want to think about a garbage dump when I throw away my stuff. I don't want to think about the fumes trailing behind the planes I see in the sky. But I'm still part of it, even if I place a wall between myself and that, or if I deem that, nature versus artifice.
Yeah, I had heard about, people are like, I'm an outdoors person, and that whole conversation of what do you mean by outdoors? Like, right. It's all contained within the same thing. And that the default is in instead of out. Yes. And like everything out there is the other. Isn't it so amazing that I can integrate myself?
Right. We love the outdoors, or even we love the winter, only because we have the indoors to retreat to. One of my favorite books, Watership Down, the author, Richard Adams, I believe, he says, well, in the voice of the main character, who was a rabbit, says, humans only like the winter because, or they don't like the winter, they like being inside warm and looking outside and seeing the elements. Only then can they find it beautiful, because it's very hard to find it beautiful when your life is on the line, when you're forced to find shelter and to fight for your life. But we don't need to do that, so we do find it beautiful.
Erica was in here beforehand, and we were talking about the elements and maybe the importance of being uncomfortable in the elements, or that we are sort of more regulated, not just physically being acclimatized to colder weather, but maybe mentally to understand through nature's signals that, it's winter because it's colder. I'm in the winter element. I understand the harshness of it. I understand the reality of it, or perhaps how it could kill me if I'm not taking care of myself correctly. And that sort of, diminished view of oneself as being kind of like weaker and susceptible, versus the consistency if you go from school to your car to your home, it's probably 21 degrees the entire way.
Yes.
And there's no way of your body understanding its position in the world or its circadian rhythms, especially if you're not being exposed to the sunlight. We divorce ourselves from the fact that we are nature. We're indoors,
Yeah.
and that's outdoors.
Right. You know, we strive, I think, for one thing in our lives, and that is mastery. Mastery over our environments, more difficultly, mastery over ourselves. And it's, I think, the most uncomfortable thing in the world to realize that you don't have that mastery or control over your environment. And to accept that, I think, is one of the most difficult things to do.
Why do you think we got to that place where we don't accept it?
Well, I mean, I think there could be many possible answers to that. One of them would be custom or familiarity. That's, I think, the feeling of control. Familiarity, or I guess familiarity is kind of the feeling of control, that your environment is not out of sorts with you. It's in tune with your way of life or your expectations. And the most familiar thing and the most comfortable thing is for things to just fit into your expectations without you having to do anything about it. And that's what we create. Our houses, our structures, that's what we create. We create an environment in which so many things no longer need to be attended to. And that's what gives us comfort. We don't feel attacked.
I could think that with globalization and mass migration, colonization, things like that can all contribute to what I had climate-wise or expectations here in this place of this continent. When I move over here, I want the exact same thing. Even if, guess what, it's a different latitude, it's a different longitude, it's by the ocean, it's not landlocked, or it's landlocked, it's not by the ocean, or it's in mountains, and all that dramatically changes the environment that the human would live in, and the human adapting to that environment. And now it's whatever environment, you're outdoors, I can still build this house, and it functions in the northern climate, and it functions in around the equator or on an island.
Yeah, standardization.
Yeah.
We get what we expect, and that's what we want. And perhaps, I mean, what we call nature or the outdoors or natural phenomena, they aren't so clear-cut. Though perhaps you can say something like, well, physical sciences can demonstrate to us within reason, there is some argument that much of it is predictable. But in our daily lives, we don't do that. We don't have the time, right? We don't have the time to be experts in physics and to calculate, the trajectory of the bus speeding down the street. Our daily lives need partitions, because otherwise we'd be paralyzed. And to return perhaps to philosophy, that is, I think, the most prevailing argument against skepticism. The skeptic says, well, you can't really be certain of anything. And the response is, so? We get on with our lives anyway. Why do I need to be certain about anything? In this instance, there are practical consequences. We can't just get on with our lives and partition nature, because if we do, it'll eventually knock on the door loud enough to bang it down.
Yeah, the outdoors will finally come in.
Right. That's what global warming is all about.
It's like nature says you've been it's like we're being that mean friend that doesn't want to play with that one kid. And
Yeah.
Until it grows up. And it's like, okay, I'm going to show you what it means to be neglected for all these years. I've got something to say.
Right.
I remember there was the old South Park about global warming, where like the entire Earth starts like imploding because of global warming, and everyone's just opening their windows and doors and being like, "We didn't listen. We didn't listen."
Not like this.
Yeah, not like this.
Not like this.
Yeah, there was a recent movie called Don't Look Up. You've seen it?
No, I haven't.
I've heard of it though.
Yeah,
I
it's part of that. Like, I don't know how much I can take in on the reality of our situation.
Yeah.
So I can't say that I know what it did go on to say, but kind of guessed.
It's basically that, right? You
Yeah.
know, we can go a long time not acknowledging the outdoors or nature or whatever you want to call it. We can go longer than I think most people expect. We're super good at denial. But there is that point. There's always that point. And this movie shows it very well. That we can't ignore it anymore. It affects us directly. And by that time, it's too late.
Mm. And that there's power in acceptance in what is uncomfortable.
Right.
And that it can be a motivating force to create new things. So that's...
If we're going to overcome this, we're going to have to immerse ourselves in that uncomfortability, that uncanniness, that feeling of, a loss of safety. If we don't, the rapping on the door is going to turn into banging, is going to turn into,
smashing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like it was the truth all along, existentially, that all of us are going to perish.
Yeah.
The whole universe will perish. In some theories, it's going to, all come into each other, all come into itself at some point. And this is just another reminder of just how susceptible we are.
Yeah.
And how finite we are, and how we're just going to die. We're just not going to be here. But then there's always creation. There's always something new coming up. Like, we could do whatever we want to the Earth, and the Earth is still going to be here unless we, I don't know, blow it up. But
even still, there will be some fragment of the Earth, and we'll
exactly.
just
There'll be like different asteroids around the solar system, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But we are all going to die. But we can't keep turning away. And existentially, that's what existentialism is trying to say. Don't turn away from death. Because if you don't, you'll find that you can live your life in a meaningful and worthwhile way. You just have to get past that barrier that you have erected for yourself. And so to plot that onto global warming, we can live. We know we can. We've done it in the past. We can live in a sustainable way, a way that now would be considered very uncomfortable and not desirable. But we can live a meaningful life. We don't need all of the things we've stacked on, all of the conveniences we've stacked on now. We like them. But if we change the way we think, we can gain new purposes and joys.
Yeah, like our likes can change. We only like the things that we like because it's what we've become used to. It's culture, right? We do things this way because that's how we do things, and I like doing these things because I expect them. They happen year after year. But yet there are so many different cultures with different practices and different climates and different things that they enjoy. And all right, so now we're going to do it again.
Yeah.
Just some more on a global scale.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which does make it harder, but no less necessary.
Yeah, I like that. I like finding meaning in the uncomfortableness of it. Finding meaning in climate change.
Meaning in angst.
Yeah, exactly. That's, I think, collective angst that we all have. Right.
Yeah.
All right. I think we have a wrap.
Okay.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Earth Common Journal's The Launch Pod. I've been Jacqueline Ohm,
I've been Cole Kosh.
and stay tuned for our next episode.